And we're here. Remco Real Talk, everyone. We're at Sweet Recording Studio with the founders, or let me just put it this way, the people that got me involved in podcast. I'm sitting here with two rock stars, two heavy hitters. We have Justin Deal to my left from Payday, and we have Tyler Ardron.
That other guy.
Tyler Ardron from Risk Reduction Plus and floodproofing.com and all the other brands and successes. So guys, thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having us, bro.
Thanks for having us, bro.
Always an honor. It's kind of nice to be on the receiving end of the mic.
Yeah, right. We just sit back, right? You just kind of go and then we sit back.
Yeah, you get to lead
some
the flow.
color.
That's it. We just get to talk.
We're here for fun.
Yeah, we are going to have some fun. So just some background. I mean, Tyler, I've probably known Tyler for about 3 years, maybe almost 4, but been working with Tyler for about 2 very closely. We're in the same BNI. We're both insurance agents and we focus on different categories of insurance. Tyler's extremely good at home and auto, but very, very good at flood. The best.
Because I don't leave that flood out there.
The best.
Mainly flood.
The best flood insurance agent that I deal with. Risk Reduction Plus is one of his brands, and we'll talk about that briefly. At some point of this podcast. And Justin is everywhere, in my opinion. A true networking professional.
Thank you.
He represents Payday, which is a payroll company, and they do a lot more than that. So, Justin, I just know that you're very well attached to a lot of the people that I network with, and I haven't heard one bad thing about you. You're always so positive. Even on social, when I see some negative posts from people in our sphere, you're always hitting them with the positive. So I think you're going to bring a really good perspective to today's show.
Yeah, excited to be here and appreciate the kind words, man. Receive that.
Absolutely.
It means a
So,
lot.
happy Monday. How was your weekend, guys?
Amazing. Anytime I get to spend, just nonstop time with my family and not have to deal with all the other outside pressures of the world, for me, it's my favorite time. Love creating memories and just chilling with them. So it was good. A lot of time outside.
That's awesome.
Nature and family.
Beautiful.
There you go.
Yeah.
Can't beat it.
Tyler,
Yeah,
how's your weekend?
what did I do? Saturday, hung out with my oldest son. So just me and him time. That was cool. Went over to Philly with him. And then Sunday, built a chicken coop. So got some chicks now.
Fresh eggs.
Off the grid.
Fresh
That's where it
eggs,
starts.
baby.
That's where it
Fresh
starts.
eggs. I got the chick. My wife ordered the chicks. I've been talking about it for like ever. I want to do the chickens because we get fresh eggs from a local farm, and they're slowing up because of winter. So the chickens produce less eggs, and a lot of people go to this farm, I guess. So there's always sold out. I've been having to eat stupid supermarket eggs, which when you eat fresh eggs and then you eat them,
They're different.
100%.
Just the color alone.
Oh, it's
right?
like a dark, like real egg. Not, I guess they're all both real eggs technically, but fresh eggs, the yolk is a lot like darker yellow. And then the supermarket, every single one is the exact same, like brighter
orangey,
yellow. Yeah, every single one's like that. So like that freaks me out because like the fresh ones, they're all kind of like a little different.
Yeah.
So anyway, I've been saying I wanted, chickens or whatever. My wife just like 2 weeks ago ordered chicks.
Very
Didn't
cool.
even tell me. They
Very
They came in the mail, a little box of
Love it.
chicks.
all
Bees and garden.
Yeah, all
coming up
live.
next.
No, that's what I was wondering. They were all live. They were at the post office, so they called us, and then she had to go pick them up.
It's like, someone get all these chickens out of here.
We got this box that's making all these peep peep noises. I'm not sure what's going on here.
So now they're in a. We got the light on them. They're growing. They like grow super quick, fast.
Very cool. I'm
And,
interested in it. I mean, I think I'm an egg guy. I love eggs. I know you guys are all into health.
protein,
You guys are all into health and fitness, and I appreciate that. And it's also something that we always just resonate on, whether we're talking business or not.
Yep.
And it's like the misconception of eggs, right? Like in the fitness realm.
Eggs are the best for you, dude.
Look, I grew up watching Rocky put like 8 of them in a dirty glass in his Philadelphia apartment and just slug them down.
Yep.
But it seems like the new wave of fitness and nutrition are saying, high cholesterol, don't eat eggs, all
get the
this
hell
other
outta
crap.
here.
I mean,
BS.
Yeah, that's right. Eat
That's
eggs,
the sugar
eat-
companies.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
We
Eat
go back
salt.
down that road in the 80s, dude.
Yeah.
The sugar companies paying off the heart? What is it called?
Yeah, heart disease,
Heart
you're right.
disease.
Heart disease, yeah.
Yeah, they paid them off and they blamed it on eggs and steak and stuff like that.
Yeah.
As opposed to them looking into like sugars.
Yeah,
and
they made
everything
salt
like
the
that.
bad guy for all
Yeah.
those years. Yeah.
Right.
And salt, as we found, is one of the most important
I eat
things
steak
for
and
your
eggs
body.
every day.
Do you? I was
Yeah.
going to say, if I have the time, if I'm at home, and I generally try to make the time, right? Like that's a big thing that we might want to talk on. Like before you get out the door and before you start, giving yourself to everybody else in your world, take some time to take care of yourself. And sometimes
100%.
that's making your bed. Sometimes that's making yourself a meal.
Yep.
Right. So, I'm a big egg guy. Monday through Friday, I try to have, at least like 3 to 4. I just have them all.
Yeah.
Do you guys mimic that? Do you guys enjoy eggs in the morning, or do you like them later in the day?
So only on the weekends, honestly, for me. I'm not
Okay.
a big breakfast guy. I actually
it.
fast during the week because I'm probably on the opposite. I'm always trying to get a little bit smaller and leaner.
Oh, me
So I
too.
I'm cutting down on
Always trying to get
calories with that
smaller.
most of the time. But I'll break my fast usually with a protein shake at some
Understood.
point. But during the weekends, I make big breakfast for the whole family. But huge advocate of that. And to your point of like filling your cup, you have to be able to take time for you every single day to provide the rest of the world with the best version of you. But you have to give yourself the best version of you first.
Right.
So I love what you said, even that's one of the small habits I started to do that it just builds a win, which is making your bed. You get that. Anybody who's read Atomic Habits probably
Yep. Great
does that.
Great
It's
one.
just one of those things. But you know, it's spending time with your kids if that's something that fills your cup. And I know not everybody feels that way about their kids, but for me, like being in the Bible with my kids in the morning, getting my workout early. I used to do the cold plunge early, but I
doing it again,
realized
I thought you were back on it.
I am back on it, but I had I had
social
an
media's
epiphany.
lying?
No, social media is not lying. I had an epiphany today, though. I didn't want to do it in the morning, and you know, this time of year it does. That's why I do it. It's the most challenging
That's
time to
hard.
do it in the
Yeah.
Northeast. But I was like, you know what? I've really been trying to work on a switch from becoming like my work version of like dad,
That's what I told you.
right?
After work, it
That's-
like resets you.
And I think you know,
Yeah.
it takes a little while for things to like, you know, to actually.
So you're doing it later in the day then.
So that's what today's
what I
going to be
do.
my first day. I
Yeah,
wanted to
that's
do
what
it.
I do.
And I thought, especially for my schedule, like my weekends are built just for the family. My week is built, you know, prioritizing family where it can, but it's business centric,
Sure.
and then family at night. So I was like, man, I really don't have like that thing that
Yeah.
like allows me to walk through the door and like just
Turn the
leave
switch.
everything else off.
Yeah.
And I thought that I was like, man, when you talk about a shock to your system, right? Like that's what it does. It kind of erases everything you've been thinking about. It makes you be hyper present.
Yep.
And I was like, all right, now during the week, I'll do it when I walk through the door. And then the weekends is all family. So I'll continue to do it in the morning. That way, again, I'm bringing the best version of me, unfiltered, just completely present with
That's
my
awesome.
family.
And that was a suggestion that you gave him.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
months ago.
And-
Months ago.
Yeah, and I just did it accidentally because I forget why I didn't do it in the morning. Oh, because I
it's
have
freaking
back to the
freezing.
whole no, back to the whole routine
Sometimes
thing.
you're rushing too.
Well, back to the whole routine thing that
Yeah.
you were saying. I literally do the same exact thing every single morning. I wake up 4:45, eat a banana, go to the gym, get home at 6:40, make 3 to 4 eggs, protein shake, shower, then hit the office 7:30, 7:45.
Gotcha.
So like adding that additional like 15 minutes becomes tight for the cold plunge. So I just started doing it after work, and then that's when I recognized I'm like, dude, I was telling you if you remember, I was like, dude, like you're working all day, you're like tired of shit, you know, and then you get home, you take this cold plunge,
Reset.
and it like
Reset.
literally
Yeah.
resets you,
Reset,
and like
yeah.
you're happy again.
That's awesome.
And you're like, whoa, you're like, hey, and then I'm like playing with the kids.
that's
and, you know what I
awesome.
mean?
That's awesome.
It is
Well,
a perfect time too, because
Yeah.
that was my fear with always doing it late. Is like it does give you just such a, like
Yeah,
an
you can't do it at
adrenaline rush.
you got to do it at like 6.
That's why I thought it's like the prayer. Even if I get back from a networking thing and it's like 7:30
Yeah,
and I take the
it's
test, I still
dangerous.
don't like. I'll be able to go to bed too. I'm one of those. I can
I
hibernate if
can't.
need be.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start doing it at like 10 o'clock and let you guys know.
Yeah.
Just like
You'll be up
just
all night.
set
Yeah,
an
when you're
alarm.
texting us at
set-
3 a.m.
No,
He's like, I'm
set it
still
on.
awake.
I'm gonna go to bed at 9, wake up at 10, take the cold plunge, and try to fall back asleep. But no, that's good. Good
That's ballsy.
suggestions. I mean, I think and I know we'll stay on the health and fitness route because I could just talk about this forever, and
course.
we might have to today, and I don't really care. But
Yeah.
I met a guy that gym's always been a part of his. The gym has always been a part of his life. He's in his late 40s. He built a home gym, and that's always something that I wanted, right? And but after having the home gym for about a year, he still goes to the gym in the morning.
That's why I haven't done it yet. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
He says that the physical nature of getting in the car and,
Yep.
and amping himself up, and also having people around him,
Yes.
Yep.
in a way, kind of have him allows him to have a better workout and a better result. So I just wanted to hear your takes on that because you guys are, I'm in that same category where I would love for convenience purposes to not have to waste maybe 10 to 15 minutes.
Mhm.
And I know some people that drive even farther just because
I
they
do.
Sure.
20 minutes.
20
one
minutes. Because it's hard to find a good gym, right? That
Yeah.
you really,
way.
that you really
Especially
like
in
and you can
Woodstown,
vibe
New
in.
Jersey.
God, yeah.
Salem County.
So what was your experience like, Justin? Like, are you one of those people that you enjoy like the process of getting in the car and going, and then
Not the process of doing that, but it's it's more the people for me. So I
people, okay,
definitely,
yeah.
and that's even like it kind of always happens cyclically. If I fall off and I get back into it, I love Planet Fitness as a gym because it's great for any beginner, right? And they're
100%.
everywhere in the country. So I'll never get rid of their membership because as I travel, I can almost always find a Planet Fitness within like 15, 20 minutes.
Extremely affordable.
Extremely affordable. But yeah, it comes with those, right? The dumbbells only go up to a certain weight. There's only Smith machines. So you eventually get to a point.
Alerts over there, dude.
Definitely all Lunk Alert coming at you right now. You eventually get to a point where you're like, 75 pounds isn't enough. You don't want to use Smith machines. You want to actually deadlift, have the squat racks, things like that. So I moved over to Edge recently, and I just realized
so jealous.
What a difference in scenery, though. Like there's a lot of what I always refer to as Spartans that are there, right? There's just these other men and women that are on just a whole nother level physically that just remind you of like, man, there's so much potential in my body of things that I can really achieve. And I really do feel like it pushes me to work harder. It's like when you have the workout partner, even though you're not competing with your boy, you're kind of competing with your boy, right? Especially when you guys are like similar in size, stature. Like I work out with Levins, love 11s, but like completely different stature. So I assume to like do a lot more weight. Yeah, he's getting better. I wouldn't say good. He's, you're a good golfer. We love you, yeah. But it's one of those that it's nice to see other people in like peak performance because success leaves clues, right? And I'm very outgoing. I talk to people in the sauna. I talk to people in the gym. And if you have a physique that I want to get, it's like, dude, what are you doing? Like, what that I'm not thinking of are you doing?
Well,
like,
good for you for being vulnerable from the get and actually like having a conversation with someone and being like, hey, I admire where you're at physically, mentally. You could have that conversation with anybody. It doesn't all have to be physical. I appreciate how calm you are during your business conversations. I appreciate how well you listen and you kind of listen instead of talk, which is like one of the things that I constantly am working on. But in this particular instance, you're talking about physical manifestation. And how did you get there? Tell me your story.
Yeah, so for me, man, I was about 320 pounds at one point. I was a D1 athlete. So my whole life, all people wanted to do is, I have a 6'4" frame. So it's let's build. And I was always athletic. So, I was fast enough, was quick, could do all the things. And then after my career was over, I was kind of at this point where it was like, all right, still consuming similar diets because that's all I knew, but the output was nowhere near. Right now I'm working in an office, I'm buying a house, I'm starting a family, and I just fell down the priority list personally and got to about 320 pounds of just fat ass, like to be completely frank with everybody. And I thought having my 3 girls would like start to, Ed Milet talks about like one of his biggest fears is that some other man would walk his kids down the aisle. And that's something that like you have to be a parent to feel. But I have 3 daughters. It is my job, my honor, my duty to get them down the aisle, pass them off to the next guy that they could become their problem, so to speak. But I then had my son. And I think that's when it really drilled down for me. I was like, man, I am not the man, the example, the protector, the provider, the leader that I should be. And I'm not the example that I want him to grow up to be, nor am I the example I would want my daughters to date at this point.
Interesting.
And that all, thankfully, for most people, it takes like a health thing has to happen, right? Like they have a stroke or they find out they have diabetes or like their blood pressure's through the roof. And thankfully for me, it was my kids. They were just enough of a why. And I lost 80 pounds. I jumped on the 75 hard train and like really just started to take myself seriously. And that's when I found a lot of other things. I found faith through that. I found more success in business, but it really resonated that it really starts with you taking care of your body first. Like it's a biblical principle. It's our temple. It's in the image of God. So it's our duty to take care of it. And Jesus was never fat. That's something I've said on our show before.
True.
Right?
He had a good diet. Wine and fish.
My man was walking all the time and he was taking care of the people. But you have to start there first because if your body's shit, your mentality is probably shit. Yeah. So you have to be able to take care of the physical to then take care of the mental, and then you can take care of other people.
Good story.
And that's kind of how that
I'm
all
glad that
unwound.
your kids were the answer, right? And nothing, medically had to spike you into action because that is usually how it is. You go to the doctor or something. Or some of these people don't even get regular blood work or get checks, so you don't know what kind of life you're living. So to transition to Ty, I know that like you are very dedicated, like extremely dedicated. I watch like kind of your I guess morning rituals. I feel like that's something that keeps you locked in. Like any deviation of that might put you down an interesting path, which is similar to me. Like I'm very like OCD with my process. And however, it's like the weekends come along and I struggle with that, just being completely honest. So I'm really good Monday through Friday, and the weekends I try to, do some things. So how do you stay accountable even on the weekends? That's something I could probably learn from you.
Yeah. I mean, I just think it's so I think it's just from doing it for like so many days in a row, and like the 75 hard I did 4
did that too?
4 years ago or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I think it's just like, I'm just like tough on myself, but really with anything, like business, sales, everything I've done in my life. Like I've always been tough on myself.
Number one critic.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, and I used to think like everybody was like that. And then you kind of grow up and you learn like, that's actually like kind of my superpower, I guess. It helps me a ton because, just, with everything I do, I'm like so hard on myself. So for an example, if I were to like skip a day at the gym, I say this was 3.5 years ago. If I were to skip a day, I'm like, let me sleep in a little bit. I sleep in, and then like 3 hours go by. I'm like, why'd I skip? And like I beat myself up. I'm losing muscle.
Yeah, no,
like in a day or whatever.
I hear you.
So like, but now I've done it so long to where like I know that's going to happen. So like I know I'm going to beat myself up in an hour or two after skipping from the gym. So I'm just like, just get up and go.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like, I think the biggest thing definitely is probably just being like hard on myself. And I used to be, so like 6 years ago, I was pretty unhealthy. I would eat fast food like 4 or 5 days a week, which
I'm looking
crazy.
at Justin. Like, I mean, him and I have the same type. If I ate fast food 3 to 4 times
I know
a
you're
week,
going to say that.
I wouldn't fit into anything other than sweatpants.
So I 320.
I would have, it's like a joke. Me and my partner, who you know, Tom,
sure.
We would have joke, like me and him just joke about it still today. It's like, dude, I would eat Taco Bell like.
But you weren't getting physically visually
No,
bigger,
I was like
right?
super skinny.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, you always had the opposite, which you should speak to that. The people who don't know that, because I think more people have your issue than mine. There's a lot of fat people out there who need to lose the weight, but it's not as hard as it is to be a smaller guy who's trying to stack on weight. You have to eat more, you have to train harder. You do have to be more dedicated to see growth, where like most fat people, like the first 20, 30 pounds falls off. Like you don't even have to do anything, right? And then you start to plateau. Yours is a constant plateau that you're fighting going up, plateau
Yeah, so I'm just
up.
always like, it's because I used to weigh about 25 pounds less than I am today.
Oh, okay.
And that's majority now. I've gained muscle
For sure.
That's a big chunk of the
You
weight.
see it in the shirt, friend.
Yeah.
You see it in
The biceps, the sleeves, just python
screaming over there.
Just straight hose right his bicep.
but yeah, so I'm just like so worried about like going back to that.
Understood.
I guess.
Yeah, I get that.
So I'm like, listen, probably skipping a day is probably not going to make me lose like, like 3 pounds of muscle or whatever. But like, I just think that, and I just,
I think
I just
too,
keep going.
having that understanding that is and that's you mentioned 75 hard. I know 75 hard. I know a lot of people in the industry do it. The thing about 75 hard is if you need that to build that commitment or that structure, but realizing that it's not 75 hard, when it's over, it's life hard.
Yeah,
life is
your
hard,
life,
right?
absolutely.
So to your point,
lifestyle.
when you miss that day, and I'm the same way, especially if it's during the week. If it's on the weekend, I give myself some grace because I either do that time golfing or I'll do something outside, or I'll spend some time with my significant other. I mean, that's a big piece too, because I feel like the way that you and I are wired is it's a very selfish lifestyle sometimes.
Yeah.
Because
I get told that sometimes.
if you're so focused on making sure that you check all these boxes for yourself, well, life comes in and maybe on a Tuesday where you normally go to the gym, you can't because something's going on.
Yep.
So I would hold myself, to a higher kind of like beat myself up about it. But if you realize that life is long and the consistency is your factor,
it's the biggest thing.
Yeah, the biggest thing.
Yeah, but I would say it comes down to, it's always the decision, right? If life throws you a curveball and you opt out, that's one thing. But if you willingly make the decision not to go on the weekends, so like, right, we're all numbers guys. We've discussed this before. So if every weekend you decide not to work out, that's 104 out of 365 days, right? That's almost a third of the year that you did nothing.
Damn, Jay's like, whoa.
That's what I need to hear.
So it's like, but think about that if you apply that to your business, or if you gave your girl only 66% of the effort and attention, it just you would never see the results that you're hoping for. And that's why like my whole thing is like, you got to earn it, right? Like, trust me, I enjoy my weekends with my kids. I'm going to have the slice of pizza. I'm going to have a little bit of ice cream. Probably going to have an adult beverage every now and again too. But like, I'm going to put the work in the morning so I don't feel as guilty.
That's good.
And if I know I'm doing something crazy, then I'm going to get a little crazy in the morning. And maybe we do a little double session, make sure we burn our 1,000 calories before the day started. And now I don't feel bad to go to a dinner with friends, and because experiences are all that it's all about, right? Like that's part of the legacy. Everything with me is family driven, but it's the memories. Like we were just talking about, we're all going to die at some point. And if there's not anything that you're passing that legacy off to, the vast majority of the world's going to forget you weeks
Yeah.
after you've been born or after you die and you've been buried.
Yeah.
So
Sad to think about, but it's true.
it is, but
Yeah.
it's the harsh reality, right?
Yeah.
And even like when you have a legacy, like the kids, right? Like things are eventually going to fade for them, the memories and the experiences and the pictures and the stories.
Mhm.
But that's what we kind of live for. So
Yeah.
In terms of like, I know you both have young boys. You have 2 boys, and you have 3.
Yeah, and I have 3 girls and a
You
boy.
have 3 girls and a boy. In terms of your brands, right? Do you ever think about passing on like the company name to your kids as legacy? Like if your business could be a piece of your legacy, do you ever envision that your kids would want to do something similar, or if they want to be, what you are? Have you ever had that conversation with your kids?
Absolutely. I mean, that's really why I always tell them we are building. It's, depending on what they want to do in life, we have a lot of conversations around college. If they have something very specific that they need a degree for, I'm all about it. If they kind of want to be a generalist, or they want to get into sales, or they want to be an entrepreneur, that we're going to have different conversations.
Yeah.
But if they're interested in getting in my line, I mean, I would love to, either have my oldest is a numbers girl, so she's probably going to be like an accountant or an architect. So if she wanted to get into accounting, it'd be a beautiful part to add to already existing business. But it's something I constantly think about outside of like, a 9-figure offer to buy us
There's
out.
no
And
money.
that's-
Yeah, there's no money that you can put on that. And I know, Ty, you're family run in many ways too. So I bring that up because you can't really put a dollar sign on passing a legacy through your companies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's to Justin's point, I've had conversations with, granted, not my 4 and 2-year-old because they're not at that point yet, but my older son is, and he's back and forth on what he wants to do, and I said, if that's the route he wants to go, awesome, I'd love it, and if not, awesome, I love whatever you want to do.
Yeah, 100%.
I want him to kind of find what he is meant to do. And I've had similar conversations with them. I think we're on the same agreements. We've had episodes on college, so we're definitely on the same front of that. It's not
Forever.
required. It's something that could be required if that's the route you want to go. But if not, then it's okay not to too. Whereas I think like when we all grew up here, it was like, no, you're going.
It's like
You're going to
success
college.
was almost
They had
tied
to.
to going to college.
Yes.
It was almost like and it's so interesting because now as I look around the table, right now, what the direction we all went in, I mean, a lot of what, especially on the insurance side, and I'm sure similar to you, more of an entrepreneurial, finance route. 18 years old, get a state license or get licensed or get enough
Come in
information
rolling.
under your belt, and you're ready to go. And I had a
Yeah.
conversation with one of our summer interns. I don't think he listens to this, so but I won't say his name anyway.
Yeah.
But he's at Temple. He's studying Fox Business School risk management
Nice.
program.
Great school.
I never met anybody who went to school for insurance.
Me neither. I think you told me that. I was like,
never
really?
met anyone. So he's
Yeah.
we got together over the weekend. We hung out, and I said, "You are like the smartest insurance person that I ever met in my life because you're literally coming out of school with a 2024 brain in risk management." Good.
The tough part with that is, like he's going to have to go into an actuarial rating
Exactly.
or something like that.
So
And
that's
like honestly, he's going to get a good salary.
That
but,
was the
like,
conversation.
we know-
That was the conversation. So
we know where the money is in this business.
That
know
was the
what I mean?
Tyler already is picking up what I'm putting down, but he's naming, I think, and it reminds me back to when I went to school, some of the finance guys who went into, corporate finance in New York, big Deloitte, they worked
all
for,
the big
Merrill Lynch,
firms.
and that was making it in their head. That was even like when they were partying, telling the girls where they got offers from, you name a big company. So this kid,
Merrill Lynch is reaching out.
Yeah. So this kid's getting offers from Chubb,
all the big ones.
Aon, AIG, all the big companies, and in his head, he's like, "This is great, I'm making it." And then, I asked him what some of your offers were. I asked him what some of his offers were. I won't bring the numbers up, but I'm like, wow, you could be making triple if you learned how to actually talk to somebody and sell that knowledge in your brain.
Yep.
So we're keeping tabs. We're keeping tabs, but I think it's a topic of conversation where, if you learn how to just deal with people at the very basic level and then add some extra knowledge on top of that, you can be extremely successful.
Yeah, when you understand human behavior and the psychology of people, you can actually help everybody like unlock success.
Yeah.
It's like that is the language of the world. You have to be empathetic, you have to be open, and you have to be curious. I think too many people, which I've made this mistake for years. I invest a lot in coaching. I'm in a lot of different groups, national and local, and sometimes I come off as preachy, right? Because I'm like telling you the things rather than asking you to get you to get there.
Yeah.
And a lot of it, that's kind of what it is, right? It's like if you to your point, you start asking questions to the people. They start to kind of figure it out on their own. Yeah, that's exactly right.
And that's the I've reread the 7 Habits of Effective People. I've read it like 5 times.
Yeah,
and the 5th one is seek to understand before being understood.
Mm-hmm.
So that, goes back to exactly what you're saying, asking questions and, being the last to talk. Right. Yeah. And that's something I know you said in the beginning of the podcast I'm working on. That's something I think us as type A personalities, that's something that we're always probably going to have to juggle learning and being better at. And there's probably always room for growth in it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's like in my head, that's been like my next level of where I want to get to is, not being the first one to talk, not being the one that's like presenting and doing all that stuff and empowering others to,
And it's powerful to be the last person to speak to, because then I get to kind of hear what everybody's ideas are on this topic, what their feelings are. They being rational or are they being emotional? And I can figure out how I'm going to respond.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like once I throw it out there, like it's out there.
It's out
right?
there.
And it's
Never
like
taking
now
it back.
everything's
Words
going to
are
react
powerful.
to you. They are.
Yeah, that's great.
That's
That's a really great point. And it's constant. It's constant. And then also like make sure you're listening, right? Like you could just be silence, I guess, for me and my family doesn't really exist because a bunch of Italians who just talk at the same time.
My family's the same way.
My family will have they mastered the art of having 5 conversations happening at one time.
Yep.
Yeah.
They all started at different times.
Yep.
They all might finish at different times. If anybody has a knife in their hand, they're dead.
Yeah.
Because so it's
One
like
hand's looking this
like,
way.
for
and then
me,
you're looking this way.
for me around the holidays, with the holidays coming up, Thanksgiving and Christmas and stuff, it was like, it was weird to be quiet. Like people be like, "Are you all right? What's going on?"
Yeah.
But I realize now in business, it's not about who's the loudest, who talks the most.
Right.
It's usually the opposite. So
And people appreciate being heard too, because to your point, the vast majority of people only have conversations to speak. Right? They're quiet because they're thinking what they're going to say next, but they're missing all the context of whatever they're saying back.
Yeah.
And that's how you deepen the relationship with people is when you tell me something and I listen and I ask a curious question about something you just said, or with mirroring, I use the last couple words that you said to kind of reiterate. People are like, man, they finally feel seen and heard.
He listened to me. Yeah,
and they open up. It took me years to figure that out before I became a reader. I was always like, I must have a face. Like people just unload stuff on me all the time. I know that doesn't sound great, pause. But people constantly like, I know people are divorced. I know that they're what's going on with their significant other, like the family drama, like within minutes of meeting people.
Yeah.
And I've realized it's because I kind of open that part of their soul where they feel heard, seen, and they trust me enough, I guess, with the questions I ask and the quality of them to actually open up and share.
Everything's just it just comes down to genuine conversation. Even this podcast, right? So you guys did introduce me to this medium, if you will. I mean, this is a B2B podcast, or maybe Justin, you guys weren't going to be like Joe Rogan than me, but like you guys have been doing this a while. You definitely, I could tell you're more comfortable in front of the mic, but people who are out there who have businesses, who like to tell stories, this is an avenue, right, of giving back to them and allowing them to come into the studio, tell their story, and also obviously give them a tangible product. So outside of the podcast that I know we both mutually do, what are you guys doing network-wise to tell your story? Like, how are you guys getting out there in unique ways? Anyone can take the floor.
Yeah. I'd say kind of I've always done it since I've been with my current business. And that's back to what we were talking before, being the expert, knowing, the ins and outs of my industry, my niche, which is the flood. And then, kind of leveraging that. So doing presentations, going to conferences, providing CE credits, basically painting myself in this niche as that person. Yep. So what I mean by that is when I'm meeting somebody, like they think flood. And we have multiple flood businesses. We have our flood proofing business. We have our flood insurance. It's like really we can help from like soup to nuts on anything related to flood from a building standpoint. So that's being, painted as that expert, doing these conferences, doing these, and then also running networking groups, which, we're a part of one, right? The BNI group, that's more of a local group. Doing our own events randomly. I do the coffee event, every other month. Used to be kind of monthly. Chambers, all the other stuff, just kind of spreading my name out there. But there's so many times where like I'm in a real estate office or whoever's, I'm doing a CE class, and then they put they put me in their phone as Tyler Flood Guy. Yeah. Or Flood Guy.
That's good.
And I'm like, that's exactly
that's
what
how I
want
to be known.
Yeah, that's how I want to be known. So when flood comes up, like I'm top of mind. And that's kind of, just painting myself as that expert is how I approached it.
Excellent.
Yeah, I mean, wholeheartedly agree with everything you said there. We do the same things. The only thing I would probably add to that is outside of being the expert is being the connector.
Yeah,
I really pride myself on people knowing, like, I'm not super salesy. I'm not a hard sales guy. I think if you know me, it's like, if you want to do business with me, great. I know it's probably some coaches out there would tell you got to ask for the business. And it gets to a point sometimes.
Ask for them withdrawals.
No, I definitely at times.
I got better at that because I was like you a lot too. Same way. And I got better at, cashing those withdrawals, right? Asking for the withdrawal because, dude,
in terms of asking for the business?
Yeah.
For sure.
I mean, like, you're making the deposits all the time, dude. Especially you. I know you more than, you know what I mean? I've known you for so long. You are always making those deposits. Like, it's not a bad thing to ask for a withdrawal.
No, totally agree.
Because they're not thinking about it.
Yeah, a lot of times, right? We've had this conversation as much as we talk, like we pass business back and forth, but I guess there are other opportunities. But just building that trust with people, and that's where it starts. And eventually, like, I will kind of trickle on people with that. But I'm just kind of a believer in that, is like, you have to help people solve other problems that you're not getting paid for to really get them to like, know, and trust you. Because I just want to see a lot of people eat. There's plenty of, business out there for everybody.
I've just always seen you, like, just in conversation out there, you're always trying to connect the dots, even if the dots aren't involving you. Like, you're always trying to connect other dots around you.
That's one of my favorite challenges. I love when people say, like, you can't help me. I'm
or like,
well,
you're just
pulling
talking.
up a chair. So
we're at a networking event. I think we've been to a few in Jersey, and we're like not even talking about anything related to business or who we know or who we're trying to be and what our business. Yeah, it's just a personal connection.
Yeah, so Tony Robbins. I mean, I love to leave people in a better state than I found them in. I mean,
the biggest, like, playing right off that, it's like, what are people going to remember? Like, so you meet this person once, let's just say, are they going to remember you're a payroll guy and you got the best service and all that stuff, or are they going to remember how you made it feel?
Yeah,
absolutely.
And they're 100% going to make, dude, that guy Justin was cool as shit. You know what I mean? Then they're going to reach out. They're not going to be like, that guy Justin really did good payroll services.
Right. And that's what. So actually, I'll take that a step further too. So, with what you were saying, with how we kind of market ourselves and network, it's also sharing a lot of my life. Like, there's definitely parts I keep private, but being vulnerable and sharing a lot, like, because to your point, people probably don't care that I do payroll, vast majority, right? Unless you have a problem, usually it's not like something you really in the moment care about. But you might have an autistic child and you might see my posts and that might relate. You might have seen my health journey and that might relate.
Golf.
You might see the different, golf, just the networking events I do. There might be something in my life that I share that you're like, man, my faith journey. It's, people talk to me about crazy things, and the fact that I share so much, it shouldn't be as weird as it is. I had a guy at a networking event the other day, like, run my whole life story back to me almost.
That's awesome.
It was like kind of creepy.
That's awkward.
No, but then when he got to the point where he like told me how it helped him, I was like, whew, all right, man. I thought I was thinking restraining order during this.
And I have printouts in my house.
But by sharing you and being vulnerable and being open, that truly attracts a lot of people, because most people aren't genuine. Most people, unfortunately, and I trust and I love people, they have an angle.
Yeah.
Has Jersey always been your networking home? Like, has that always been your background, where you target, where you're from? Did you come from any other states before Jersey?
So I did not. I went to school in New York, so I have some connections up there, and we travel a ton. So I love that part of meeting people. I have friends kind of all over the world, I would say. When we travel and we're in different countries, it's not unordinary for me to run into somebody on the street. So that's like, my kids always think that that's hysterical. But we serve clients nationally. But I'd say tri-state areas, really. Anywhere within 2.5 hours I can drive, I'll be there.
Gotcha.
Yeah, networking mainly in Jersey, in the tri-state area, but also national.
You've been in Florida a lot.
Yeah. We have 19 reps across the country in different territories. And we do a lot of those conferences that I was talking about earlier. So I'm in Florida. I'll be in Florida in 2 weeks, which I won't be in BNI, by the way. Write that down on your calendar.
I'll cover it for you.
But yeah, so I go to Florida. A lot of the the flood areas. I was in Texas last month. So yeah, any of the big coastal areas, I'm networking there as well.
How did you guys handle, obviously we're still in hurricane season. I know they're still saying that Florida might get hit with another one, but how does that directly impact? Yeah, right. I mean, I don't know whether you're like that guy behind the scenes being like, yes, flood more.
A little bit of both, unfortunately, right?
Buy more flood mitigation flags.
I want to make sure everybody is healthy and safe. and everything like that.
Yeah. No, your service is really good.
Yeah, no lives lost, but we can replace
lost,
things,
but we can,
right? We can replace things.
We can help people rebuild.
And from an insurance standpoint, I mean, I've seen clients use your products. I've seen how that works. It's a very holistic version of what you do. So, I mean, you are really helping a lot of these people. It's just getting them to understand, there are ways to mitigate these things before they happen.
Yes.
Right. I feel like always like flood, when that comes up in insurance, it's always like, we're always playing reactive, not
100%.
when we could have been proactive.
Yep.
Right. So
100%. Yeah. It's always a struggle. And fortunately the building codes help a ton with that. So like any new construction nowadays across the country, they're required to put in these different products that we manufacture.
Yeah.
But it's the existing that there's so many existing buildings out there. I mean, you go to Miami, God.
Yeah.
And it's trying to convince them, so something like a Milton, raises that awareness.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
Makes, to be honest, my job a lot easier.
Yeah. And more the reason for you to continue to do these CE credits and travel and give these, because I'm assuming, you're filling the room with at least 50 to 100 agents who are now like more versed, and then you're spreading. To Justin's point, you're spreading your message or your preaching. You're preaching up there,
Yep. Yeah,
so
exactly.
It all really does come back to that, though. So I will always give you that, Justin. I mean, there's always a connection, right, towards the gospel or whoever you're following or whoever you look up to. But I mean, what our business is, we're preaching or we're at least disseminating knowledge, and we're doing it because we care. There's financial upside, of course, but I would think that
I'm passionate.
Any of us are passionate about it. Passionate, and then when our head hits the pillow at night, we feel like we've made a positive impact.
Absolutely,
100%. Yeah. No, I'm passionate about I was half kidding before.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we were. Yeah,
I'm super passionate about protecting buildings. I mean, it's when we've gotten videos from Milton, this last storm, and I have cases of where these massive mansions, have our products in, and they send us a video and say, we set up before the hurricane and we didn't get one drop of water in our home, and like that type of stuff. It makes me feel a lot
absolutely
a lot better. So
absolutely, it's good. Yeah. With the holidays coming up, with Thanksgiving and Christmas, and I mean, are you guys business-wise or family-wise? Do you guys focus on any philanthropic? I mess that up every episode.
Yeah, no, you're good. I mean, monetary as well, but I like to show up to places. So our good friend Jim Butts, we typically help him. We feed some of the homeless on Thanksgiving night. Our other good friend Brian Walsh with Over the Top, he has a big toy drive that we help sponsor. And then typically at payday, we sponsor a few families every year.
Nice.
And then I'm sure Devin will have some events that we can show up, roll our sleeves up at. Because that's the big thing, like the monetary part, awesome. But there's such a lesson to be learned in gratitude. I think a lot of times, especially in America, somebody who travels a lot, we're so focused on the dollar that we forget about community, we forget about family. And, there's a lot of people hurting out there in our backyards. And especially in the Northeast during the holiday time, it gets crazy cold. There's just a lot there's already, we have droughts, we have food scarcities, there's all these things going on. And the vast majority or the majority, we'll say, of us should be very grateful for all the things that we have. So probably have things in your pantry that you can donate. You absolutely have time that you can carve out if it's something that means enough to you. And it's great for your kids to see. It's like we want to perpetuate the world that we want to see. So I like my kids seeing that, hey, we live a really blessed life and we get to do a lot of really cool things. And these folks here haven't had that same luck or opportunity, or it just didn't click for them. And that just drives home a greater perspective and a big picture of like what life is about.
It doesn't really click for me either until I see it. Like I think we spent some time through our networking groups at the Southern New Jersey Ronald McDonald House and seeing the children and seeing the families. I mean, it really, that's when it hits home.
Imagine.
Absolutely.
I couldn't imagine.
That still has now it has this spot. So I'm trying to continue to do stuff with Marcine and things through the house. But I think that's a great cause.
And those are things you'll keep forever.
Yeah.
I mean, we met, very quick story. We met a family years ago at the Ronald McDonald House. I think they're back to letting people come in and cook. And that was always my favorite. Yeah. We would make something a little bit more extravagant than the typical folks. Yeah. And we met this young couple. They were 17 and 19, first kid, had cancer and some tumors. Yeah. They unfortunately lost them. And it's one of those things, like I was a young father at that point. I think I had only had my first daughter. And it just hits you. You're like, man, I worry about all these other things. And
My kid has a
these
cold, and I'm
people,
like,
100%, you feel so
all right, dude,
helpless.
seriously,
And we've
yeah.
had, we've been at
God, I
CHOP.
can
Like I said,
imagine.
2 of my children are on the spectrum. My oldest had some things when she was born that she had to get surgeries when she was 3 months old.
Yeah.
But even when you're in those moments, you have somebody, we had this beautiful woman next to us who had a baby who had the same thing, a brain tumor. She was from North Carolina. She had another child. Her husband was an entrepreneur down there. And here she was in Philadelphia by herself every single day in a room with her daughter that she wasn't sure what the outcome was. My wife and I could go home back and forth every night, take a shower, lay our heads down in our beds. And every day we were there, I spent time with this woman because it just reminded me man, this seems like the worst day of my life, but it could always be worse.
Yeah.
That's like the and back to what we're talking about on the health side. It's like you don't think of your health until you're sick.
Absolutely.
And same with that. You don't know, your kid's going through a cold and you're so worried. But then you see something like that and you're like, dude, it could be so much worse. And same with the health thing. You're sick and all you want to be is, God, please make me feel better.
Yeah, and I'll do anything. I know. It's one of
And
those
when's the
things.
last time you just took a big breath of fresh air and you were like, oh man, just so nice to
Right.
be able to smell it, taste it. Because man, I had a little cold for 2 weeks. I couldn't taste.
Dude, I was 3
all
weeks
congested.
I was sick. And I'm like, I just want to get better. And that's
Yeah.
all you focus on.
Yeah.
But then you're not sick and you don't even think about it.
And that's everything too. I mean, even tying it back to when you need something, that seems like when everyone wants to believe that there's a higher power,
Yeah.
right? It's like, oh crap, now.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm
praying. I didn't pray.
And your body. I mean, your body. Even the little things you have 2 feet, you have 2 hands.
Yeah, right. Little stuff like that.
All 10
Those are
fingers,
things that
10
I think
toes.
when you don't want to do something, maybe that'll be enough to get me out.
Yeah.
On the weekends to work out. I got 2 feet and 2 hands. So
Right.
you know.
There's
That's
people
why
out there with none.
practicing. Yeah, you have to
That's
practice
crazy.
gratitude.
Yeah,
It's
you
one of
do.
the most
Yes,
important
yes,
things.
yes.
It really does. It just opens your eyes to how many things we have to be grateful for rather than a lot of people look at all the things they don't have. And of course, that's depressing. You know how many things I don't have? We all don't have a ton of stuff, but that's not what's important. What we have, what we can take advantage of today, those are all the blessings that really matter in life.
So with the holidays, I know you mentioned a lot of good stuff. The one company or I guess organization that I've learned a lot about through Justin is the Jersey Man magazines and whatnot. So are there any events coming up for them? Because I really wanted to try to get some of them on my radar.
Oh, yeah, actually.
Yeah, I know this is
Thanks
for that plug there.
I know.
Yeah, a little alley-oop right there.
There we go.
So we actually have our 9th annual Unmasking the Legacy Gala. It's at Ballroom at the Bend, Thursday, the 7th of November. It's actually coming up. So it
That's this week.
is, it's going to be.
I saw it. I was like,
Yeah,
that's so
we
fun.
have 6 honorees that all represent different nonprofits. We raise a ton of money for them. Thankfully, we're in a position we were able to donate a good amount of money. We're actually the auction sponsors this year, so they were
nice.
brazen enough to give me the microphone through a lot of the night.
Yeah, you'll do good.
I get to get up there and talk a little trash to everybody, and get everybody fired up to bid on some pretty amazing experiences and items that we put together. But it's I'd say 90 minutes of fantastic networking, about 2.5 hours of an unbelievable party, and then we go have an after party as well. I would say this year we're going to raise at least $30,000 in the night. And one of the lucky winners takes the vast majority of that home with them. But those are the other cool, and then the YMCA, to plug them in as well. They have a food and wine classic on Friday the 8th. Same thing, very philanthropic. The Y as well is obviously a nonprofit, and they help everybody in the community. They have got probably more different curriculums and things than we have time for me to discuss right now. But it's one of their big. They're going to raise $100,000. That's from all the efforts leading up to that. But find other ways, just like we always say, business doesn't have to be boring. Neither does philanthropy. There's really cool galas. I'll be the first one to admit, especially if you're willing to part with your money. There's awesome experiences that you can get. I mean, most of the memorabilia I have is from these golf trips that I've won. You obviously got to pay for them, but
got to play to win.
It's a different enticement. My good friends at Ticks for Good have kind of nailed this. Getting people to donate based off the potential of winning something is a very good way. A lot of Christians probably don't tithe, right? Biblical principle, something we should do, but you don't do it, right? But there's something about, we gave away Taylor Swift tickets with them, and for $25, it would get you 100 entries
Very cool.
for $7,700 tickets. So it's like now you pick one of the 200 nonprofits they work with, and you're entered into the sweepstakes, so you could possibly win this. So that's kind of what these galas do. So find different ways you can get involved and have fun with it.
Yeah, this time of year, I'm going to do a good job over the next couple of weeks with Thanksgiving and Christmas. I mean, this seems like the time where a lot of businesses are hosting these events, and these, whether they're client appreciation events, referral partner appreciation events, or just a philanthropic.
Philanthropic. We're gonna get it. We're gonna get it.
Yeah, don't get me to try to
That's
do
gonna
that.
be the title. That's gonna be the title of the show. But yeah, keep if you're a business owner or you're networking and you're in sales, and keep an eye on social media. I mean, we all, the three of us, we share a lot of information on a weekly basis, a daily basis of things. And if you feel like you're nervous and you see something and maybe it's $25 to get in the door, maybe it's free because a lot of these are free. DM me, Tyler, Justin. I think we all do a really, really good job. And I think that's something the three of us do well is trying to find the person at the networking event who might look a little, shy and bring them in. So
I love me an introvert, baby. You're my favorite people. I wind up bringing you around the whole room, introducing you to all sorts of people, and we break that show.
That's true.
So DM me if you need a little partner for networking. I'll love it.
And I'll make sure we tag you guys on some of the stuff that Remco's doing coming up in the holidays. Awesome. Ty, any closing thoughts? This is Jerry's final thought.
Jerry's final thought. I like that.
In what regard?
I don't know. This is it could be anything.
It could be anything.
Anything for someone. How about this? Anything for someone who is just getting into the networking scene.
Yeah.
Or just starting their business.
Yeah, I would say the biggest things to starting your business, getting into networking, the biggest thing I don't see happen is taking action.
Mm-hmm.
That's been like my motto for this year. Because I've learned heavily that is one of the things that most people don't do.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has the big ideas or the different ideas, or you don't even have to have the idea. You could see someone else do it and do it. But the biggest thing is just taking action. So taking action, go to that event, show up, introduce yourself to people, taking action on throwing your own event. Mm-hmm. It's not as difficult. It's not all these different things are. Maybe you get I'll get praise on it, right? Awesome job doing this networking event, all this stuff. But I think to myself, I'm I'm not am I doing something that crazy? You know what I mean? And that's everything in my business. And what I've learned is it's the only thing that's different that I'm doing is I'm just doing it.
Yeah.
It's not that crazy. I'm not I'm not an Elon Musk guy. I'm not building a Tesla or crazy stuff like that. This is all stuff that anyone can do.
Yeah.
You just got to do it.
You got to execute.
Execute. Yeah.
I would say for anybody new to the game, the first thing I always tell folks is show up early. Right, the people get to know whoever's hosting the event, help them out, set up the table, lay out the name tags, whatever it is. Those folks are the gatekeepers. They know every single person who's going to be in the room. They can help make introductions. And it's a lot less awkward to pick people off one at a time as they walk in the door compared to walking into a room of 150 to 200 people. Some people get overwhelmed by that. Yeah. Second takeaway is stand out. So there's a few ways to do this. I do this with both fashion and my voice. What do I mean by that? I wear sneakers all the time. So I'm a shoe collector. So I wear Jordans, cool Nikes, things that stand out. Anybody who's a sneakerhead, it breaks the ice instantly. And I would be not lying to you if I told you I've gotten deals from people just because they like my sneakers.
That's awesome.
The way I use my voice, certain times I need to quiet down rooms. I can use my dad voice. I could be very loud. You kind of can command the room, quiet folks down, but it also draws a little bit of attention to you.
Aerial.
And some
you get
people,
that aerial, though. You
nice
take up a lot of space.
I scare everybody who's around me, but it's a good thing. And then, as Tyler was saying, just take action and be intentional. So ask good questions, take notes if you need to. When you grab a business card, jot a thing or two down, because if you meet 15 people in a night, Jay, Justin, and Tyler are probably, you might be like, oh, damn, who was who? What did they do again? What was that? So give yourself some notes so you can remember and have a actual unique and genuine follow-up with them and follow up.
Yes.
Yeah, I used to, when I first started, I would actually sit in my car after the event and I would email people away.
That's it.
And I would say, hey, I know we just met, didn't want to forget to do this, really appreciated the conversation, blah, blah, blah. Let's grab coffee, lunch, whatever it is. Some people think you're crazy for doing that, but it's effective because people, you're the first thing in their inbox the next day. And then lastly, a quick one, post it on social media. Take a picture, take video, tag the people you met, tag the people that hosted. That will quantify who sees you, and it brings value. Because then maybe somebody didn't know about that group. They saw that I was there and they're like, man, Justin, what's this group about? I know you're not wasting your time showing up. So is this something I should be in the room? You bring value by bringing more members as well. So never underestimate what you bring when you show up. Show up as your best self, show up as an expert, and just be there to connect and help people. It's not what you can get from the room, it's what you can give to the room.
Good stuff. I love the quick action on the business cards. I generally wait till the next morning and have them all laid out and kind of just do that then.
I've just found a lot of times they wind up in the pocket, and then they go in the
laundry.
Maybe I'll be starting. Maybe I'll be starting before the drive home.
Yeah.
So good information. And I guess the one give that I can then provide to anybody listening, specifically Remco does business insurance, small, medium, large size. We are, your one-stop shop for business insurance in 30 plus states now. So we're actually licensed in more than 30 states. So if you own a business, if you are starting or, you've had a business for a while and you want people to know your story, we can virtually join through this podcast. You can come into the Mountain Laurel studio. I'd love to have you on. I think we had some really, really good guests who told their story, their rise to their business, or maybe it was the third business, right? This was the third one that was successful. So if you own a business and you want to tell your story, Remco Real Talk will obviously plug the information in the bottom. And I am blessed to have Justin and Tyler here today, because if it wasn't for them, I would not know about this medium of communication. So think creatively, folks out there. Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, they're all great tools. Text message marketing, email marketing. The B2B podcast is another platform, and stay up on trends, right? This probably wasn't available to a lot of businesses maybe 5-10 years ago. So stay what's available with all the new technology changing. These are all tools to market your brand. So with that, we're going to cut it.
All right. Well, we're grateful to be here. And we have to end.
Ty. Yeah.
Don't forget the old school phone calls.
Old school phone calls.
Pick the phone up.
Yeah.
Call somebody.
Good answer. Good execute.
That's right. But we appreciate y'all being here. Have the best day ever, y'all.
Best day ever.
Best day ever.